Well, it's time to go out to the other coast of the United States of America that's known as Hollywood, California, and check in with Michael Snyder to tell us all about the new movies that are coming out. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Alex, and greetings, GABNet listeners and everyone else. Let's get rolling on this. It's the weekend, time for new movies, and I had high hopes for a couple of the new films opening this weekend. I should have been more skeptical, but at least one feature getting its first limited release in the U.S. is among the best I've seen this year, and maybe the best. Let's start with Gemini Man. Director Ang Lee has made some great movies. Gemini Man is not one of them. Despite some high-tech innovations in frame rate that Ang Lee pioneered on a couple of earlier movies that include the powerfully beautiful Man Bonds with Tiger on the High Seas drama Life of Pi, Gemini Man, or Gemini Man, this espionage flick with a sci-fi twist is not worth the extra effort, especially in the case of Will Smith's CGI co-star, Will Smith. The story concerns Henry Brogan, an assassin for, I assume, the CIA. He's played by Smith, and this guy decides to retire. He's had enough killing, but for some unclear reason, and believe me, I paid attention throughout, a faction in the agency wants to kill him, sending him on the run. Does he know too much? Do they fear betrayal? Unclear. So a former fellow military man, played by Clive Owen, sends a 20-something clone of Henry to kill the older assassin, and that's where the CGI version of Smith, ostensibly digitized from earlier Smith footage, comes in. I'm not sure if they went back to the Fresh Prince days, but it doesn't matter. For an action movie with a couple of good fight scenes and settings from Belgium to D.C. to Eastern Europe to Philadelphia, the bulk of this is surprisingly slow. And Smith, whose career has been built on his likability and watchability, can't enliven a script that is less vivid than his computer-generated doppelganger, who, by the way, occasionally dips into the uncanny valley, if you know what I mean. Owen didn't knock it out of the park as the heavy, and though Benedict Wong as Henry's old army buddy and Mary Elizabeth Winstead as a plucky female in the mix were fine, Smith had to carry Gemini Man, and he couldn't make me care about him or his other him. So, yeah, not great. Let's move along to the Addams Family. You may only know the creepy but kooky and loving Addams Family from the macabre live-action movie comedies of recent vintage, starring Angelica Houston as vampiric and sexy mom Morticia and Raul Julia as ghoulish and devoted husband Gomez. Or maybe you know what seemed to be the inspiration for the movies, the classic and surprisingly sophisticated Addams Family TV sitcom of the late 60s and early 70s. That imprinted viewers with an affection for the macabre clan. They're led by Carolyn Jones and John Astin as Morticia and Gomez. Now comes a 3D animated Addams Family movie that got me excited because it looked like it looked like it went all the way back to the source material, which were the very droll single-panel New Yorker cartoons about this unconventional brood, cartoons done by artist Charles Addams, thus their name. Despite the pretty faithful evocation of Addams' drawings of Morticia, Gomez, their kids Wednesday and Pugsley, old Uncle Fester, Grandmama, Lurch the hulking butler, and so on, and some clever jokes that might have been actually cribbed from Addams' old cartoons, this script was pretty pedestrian, and it's supposed to be comedic, and it wasn't very funny. Yeah, there are very good big-name actors providing voices, and they're fine. For example, Charlize Theron is Morticia, Oscar Isaac is Gomez, Chloe Grace Moretz is Wednesday, Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things is Pugsley, and Bette Midler is Grandmama. Even Harry Cousin It gets a celebrated voice to spew his squeaky, gibbering Snoop Dogg. Not that it matters. The lazy plot hinges on normal suburban neighbors freaking out over the dilapidated and spooky Addams mansion, a former insane asylum, and freaking out over the offbeat denizens. And the main villain who leads this outraged mob is a smug woman in pastel, voiced by Allison Janney. She's a TV home makeover star and real estate magnate who's eager to tear down the Addams dwelling and put up her own subplot. Speaking of subplots, There's one about Pugsley having to go through a family rite of manhood, but it's pretty standard stuff. And except for a couple gags, the Addams Family is shockingly humdrum. When the lowbrow animated Hotel Transylvania movies, which owe a massive debt to Charles Addams' creation, offer more laughs than a movie about the actual Addams Family itself, it's a grave disappointment. Sorry. Anyway, we got to get to a good movie before we bail out here. Parasite is that film. As I said earlier, it's a movie coming out in big media markets this weekend with a larger rollout, hopefully coming sometime in the coming weeks, and it's among the best I've seen this year. It'll definitely be in the conversation for recognition during award season, especially since Parasite already scored the coveted Palme d'Or at Cannes this year. Parasite is about the Kims, a Korean family of 4 poor scam artists, a father, a mother, a sister, and brother, who, starting with the college-aged brother, wheedle into the lives of the well-to-do, borderline arrogant Park family, whose finances are on the rise and whose lifestyle is everything the Kims don't have and would do most anything to have. Parasite is the latest movie from one of my favorite directors on the planet, Korea's Bong Joon-ho. This is the guy who did the wild dystopian sci-fi movie Snowpiercer, which is now a TV series, did the cool monster movie The Host, and the devastating drama Mother. I think Parasite is the height of his career to date. Crazily brilliant compilation and combination of farcical comedy, social satire, fateful tragedy, and dark tension-laced thrills. It looks at class war, family dynamics, and the potential for crime and chaos when there's like a big gap between the wealthy and the impoverished. It's also a theme in The Joker, that last thing, but in The Joker it's laid out in heavy-handed fashion, and Parasite is so much more elegant in delivery. Envy and anger and desperation and frustration fuel the Kims, who envy the Park's material goods and cushy home. And Bong Joon-ho addresses some serious questions, including who among these people is really entitled to the good life, and is success about luck, hard work, or cunning. I loved Parasite. What have you been watching, buddy?
Let me see. Batwoman, very good. I liked it. Thought it was terrific.
Latest addition to the DC superhero shows on the CW, yeah?
Yep. And I just have to send kudos out to Riverdale, which this week did what so many other series have done when a person dies. They've done some kind of way of writing him out of the script. And Luke Perry died because he played Archie's father. And instead, they decided to take the whole episode and turn it into a really heart-wrenching, beautiful, beautiful hour of television. And if anybody can go back and watch it somewhere, you should watch last week's Riverdale. It is absolutely one of the best things I've seen this year on TV. Really good.
Great stuff. You can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster and on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, and here on GABNet.
Thank you very much, Michael. We'll see you next week. If you want to see Michael, hear Michael's reviews, you can go to our GABNet page. He's over in the on-demand section. And you can also hear him right here, 24/7, as GABNet continues. Stay right where you are.